Welcome, everyone, to the After the Gate podcast, your number one source for authentic stories, interviews, and educational content surrounding the justice system, incarceration, and more. Come along with us now as we give you a glimpse before and after the gate.
Welcome, everybody, to the After the Gate podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Brittany. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, her name, where she's from, and what she does. And then we're going to get into her story and what she's doing for the community with the incarcerated population, with individuals that are re-entering society. So, go ahead, Brittany. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Hey, y'all. It's Brittany, better known as your favorite PO. I'm from Houston, Texas. And I was an adult probation officer for almost 5 years. And I quit that. And now I am doing probation consulting full time. So my mission is to basically help pull back the curtain on probation and parole. Because I don't know if y'all know this, but a lot of people have misconceptions about probation and parole. It's always a negative connotation put to it. And I do understand why, because I've seen both sides of it. But I want it to be more accessible and more something that people understand. So when they go into it, they're not blindsided.
Yeah.
We need people to be prepared. I don't know how you can be successful without being prepared. So that's why I'm here to help people prepare for that.
I like that. How did you get involved in like the corrections field, and how did you like probation in general? How did you get involved in that?
People ask me that all the time. Honestly, I'm just going to be real transparent with y'all. I needed a job. Let's just start there, okay?
Yeah.
And I saw that it was an opportunity available. It was like close to my house. The commute was easy. I was like, you know what? I could do that because I had never done corrections. This probation officer job that I had was the first time that I was in that arena. And I stayed in it for so long because I actually enjoyed it. Like helping people in that aspect when they're so down and out, like, not everybody was down and out, but just to help see somebody change for the better, like that was top tier for me. So I loved it.
Yeah. I feel like you have such a big responsibility with those individuals because, like you said, they're vulnerable. They're coming out. What do you think? This was one of the questions that I was thinking before we jumped on the interview. But what's like some of those pros and cons with like that job that you had? Was there any bad, here having to send people back to prison or jail or things like that? Like you probably had to do that a couple times, right? Or
not me,
like,
dog.
yeah. Or I like that you say that, like, not me, because honestly, they did it to themselves or they committed, But like, what were those pros and cons to the position that you held?
I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it was more pros than cons. But one of the cons is that people expect you to help them in capacity that you can't even help them. We don't even have the resources. Like in my area, there's not a lot of resources available to help people as far as with housing, trying to find a job. There are a lot of homelessness, and we didn't have access to resources to help them in a way that was going to be lasting. You know what I'm saying? So that was the hardest part for me. That was a con for me. And I would tell anybody who's ever interested in getting into a field like this, you're not going to do it for the money. So don't even think you're going to get rich. So that's like, I guess you would call that a con, depending on if somebody wanted to get into the field. Like you don't really get paid that much. But
I was going to ask if you had a passion for it, is what I was going to say.
You absolutely have to have a passion for it. You have to have a heart to do this job because you'll be in and out the door real quick. It's going to chew you up and spit you out real quick if you don't have a passion for it.
Yep. I hear you. So what about like the education? So you said you jumped into it. Was it something, so people that are listening, what if somebody wanted to jump into it like right away? What would your advice for them?
Oh, I love this question because people DM me and email me every day asking me about this.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have any experience because as I said, I didn't have any experience, but you do have to have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice or psychology in most states. Now, not every state requires that. Some states, they will take an associate's degree or they'll take military experience, or if you have some type of law enforcement background, they'll try to substitute that. But majority of states in America, they do want you to have a bachelor's degree.
Okay. Oh, so with what you said prior to, with you said like lacking the resources at the spot for individuals, what would you say was the most necessary aspect of like reentry for them? Like, what did they really need housing? Did they really need food? What was like the major thing that you saw?
Number one thing is a job. Because, once you get that
Okay.
criminal record, you get this big X on your record. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
freaking hire you. And then you just
Yeah.
came out of jail. So obviously you've been out of touch for a little while. So it's kind of
Yep.
hard to get back into the work field. Even if you don't have a felony, just having any criminal record, that's a red flag for a lot of companies. So that's number one off the top.
Yeah. 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 Do you guys have, so at your specific place, or have you seen like resources that people can say, hey, this is felon friendly employers or things like that? Or is it kind of catch 22? Like they're not going to hire all the felons, there's not room for all these felons on this list, or what would you see?
Well, the good thing is with today's society and internet, you can do a lot of things online. So
Yep.
that's a plus. And then people are out here starting their own businesses. And with me and my platform, as far as what I do on social media, I often ask my followers, hey, who's hiring out there? Drop a comment. Let us know what company near
Yeah.
you is hiring across all states. So I have like a huge audience in different states. So that's
Like,
one way that I try to help people. But in
okay.
my immediate area, you have the basic thing called the workforce. Like you'll go to that, like, and they'll try to help you out. But like you said, it's limited. Not everybody can get in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, can you describe a little bit about like your branding? So you're branded as your favorite PO.
Yep.
How did you come up with that? And then how has that like your branding branched out, and what have you accomplished so far with it?
I started this like probably was it 3 years ago? I think it was in 2018. And I started
Okay.
it because a lot of people were asking me like how to become a probation officer, and they were inquiring about what, I actually did. So that's how it really started, with people wanting to get into the profession. And then I started posting videos that helped, well, was more geared towards people on probation.
Hmm.
And over time, it is, I've helped so many people like get into the field. I'm not gonna lie to you. I
That's
do
cool.
consultations 101. So
Yep.
now it started with just YouTube videos, and then it progressed into doing all other platforms. That includes Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and then that progressed into doing one-on-one consultations with people, so they
Yeah.
could reach out to me. We can have one-on-one, help them if they're on probation or parole, or if your loved one is on probation or parole and you
Hmm.
don't know like the steps and how things work. I help them. So yeah.
I like that, because a lot of the time, like being an ex-con coming from prison and seeing just the like the lack of resources for a lot of people getting out. What do I do? Even their family members, like, what do I expect? How do I handle these things? So it's cool there's a resource to turn to, such as everything your favorite PO has to offer. That's cool. I like that.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
my network has grown as far as with the brand. I have a podcast myself. It's called Two Hats Podcast, and on there
Okay.
it's me and a co-host, and we talk to other probation and parole officers across America, and they all share their different experiences about how things are done in their states. Because as we know, in each state, laws are different. So
Hmm.
if I can't help someone, if it's outside of my scope, because I live in Texas, and so the laws I'm most familiar with are here, I have a lot of contacts in different states, and they also, we can help people out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say in terms of like what the community could be doing, or probation, the government, or maybe the justice system? What could they be doing better to combat recidivism? Maybe one day they won't need probation officers, or the services. Maybe one day. What do you think could help benefit, or what the community could be doing better?
I really believe more transparency is needed. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, if you're gonna succeed, you need to be prepared. And the game, I feel like the game is almost a little bit rigged. Like they don't really want you to know. And sometimes I feel like they don't want you to succeed. If they did, they would give you the tools needed to
The tools to
succeed.
do so. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
like it's almost like, they got you doing this thing with one hand tied behind your back. Like how am I supposed to do it? So
Yeah.
there needs to be more transparency, and then there needs to be the stigma lifted for people who've been incarcerated, or people who've been on probation or parole. Like, why is it anybody around you could have been in a situation, even including yourself? Like, I'm sure majority of us have a family member or ourselves that have been in that situation. So there needs to be, this stigma needs to just die down. Like, it's not helping anybody. And resources, they allocate funds to so many different things, but when it comes to people reentering society, there's a lack. Like, they have money that can be put towards that. So I think funding needs to go more towards that.
I like that. So what would you also say? Okay, so what would you say in terms of like everybody listening, the world? Why is probation in general needed? Why is it essential to the application of like a healthier community and things like that? Like, why does probation need to be there? Why can't we just lock people up, have them do their time, and then get out? Right? Why is probation essential?
Ooh, that's heavy. Oh, you hit me.
Yeah.
You hit me.
It's your services. Yeah.
I like to put myself in that. I would like to put myself in the position of somebody being in jail. Like, I would want an alternative. Not every time somebody commits a crime, and I'm putting that in air quotes for those of you who can't see. Everybody who commits a crime, maybe they didn't do it. Like you and I, we had a discussion off air. And I feel like people deserve a second chance, and I feel like probation can be that second chance. And historically, when the first probation officer even was created, I feel like that they were all about helping people then. But as time progressed, it became more policing. It's like a second form of policing, basically. And I think it needs to go back to a helping profession.
Yeah. I love how you said that probation could be that second chance, because for me, it was definitely a second chance. I'm sure it's been for very many people. And it's so ironic as a kid, before I went to prison, I had a probation officer, super, super cool, super nice, just really wanted to see me succeed. And I was on a really bad path. But when I got out of prison, when I was on parole, he was my parole officer. So it was like he already knew everything about me, the ins and outs. So it was like, that was probably the perfect person to watch over me and keep watch and stuff like that. Do you have any stories about like anybody you've ever had like watched over that was getting out of prison, or anybody that like success stories that you love to follow, anything like that?
Oh, I had a lot. Like, there's actually one that sticks out in my mind that I'll tell you about. He actually found me on Facebook. Like, this was after I had already quit my job as a probation officer. And he found me on Facebook, and he was just telling me how good he was doing. Like, he was one of my clients that he was real cool. So we had a good rapport with each other. And we actually did a whole live stream on my Facebook. And we told the audience about how it was, like what happened to him, like how he got in trouble, the whole nine yards. But he has his own business, and I was even referring people to him because he lives obviously locally. And I was referring people to his businesses because he hires formerly incarcerated people and people on probation and parole. So that sticks out the most to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
It's a blessing. Yeah. Okay, so what would you say, last words to your audience, with what you have in terms, like your favorite PO is moving into 2023. What do you have planned? What do you want to do in terms of just building your community bigger? What do you have in store for yourself?
Well, I do want more probation and parole officers to become consultants and help other people, because I want to tell y'all this. When you are a probation officer or parole officer, there's certain things that you cannot say and certain things you cannot do. Like, a lot of probation and parole officers, they're not even allowed to be on social media. And that was a contributing factor as to why I stopped doing that. Like, there was just one small aspect of why I stopped doing it.
Really?
But like I said, it's the transparency. They want the info to stay inside. They don't want that stuff getting out. Like, it's a system, and the system needs to be repaired. But anyway, I digress. So I want to see some more, maybe former probation and parole officers come on board with me to do consulting to help people just raise the awareness and pull back that curtain so people can actually get in here and be successful.
Yeah. I always like asking people, that do community work or things like that, like what can the community do more? Because it's just kind of like shielded from the eyes. Like, these people that are getting out of prison, it's just like, okay, handle with them at probation. Like, the community doesn't want to see them. It's kind of like a shun thing. Like, I feel like we have a part as the community. If you want like a sound, healthy community, you should be doing your your part in helping these people. They're coming out here to our
Absolutely.
community.
And I feel like it really starts with family members too. Like, you'll be surprised by how many people say, well, I can't get a ride. Nobody will bring me up there to probation. Like, family, y'all need to help these people out. Like, obviously they were
need you.
incarcerated, they made a mistake or what have you. But if your own family won't help you, a lot of times that's why people go back to doing what they were doing, because they feel like nobody's there for them. So
nobody
family,
at all.
family, friends, like, love on your loved ones. It doesn't matter if they were incarcerated. It doesn't matter if they are felon. None of that matters. They're people. Love on your loved ones. And that goes for other people in the community too. Like I said, just like the stigma, it needs to be erased.
Yeah. You do your time. Yeah. You're out in the community. You did your time. Help us or help them. Help those.
Anybody who wants, of course, not everybody wants help, but for the people who want actual help and they're asking you, help them. Like, where's your heart?
I agree, Brittany. Okay, cool. So do you have any last words for everybody listening? There might be some young person that's like, hey, I want to be a probation officer, or consultant, I want to jump on this. There might be somebody on a path to maybe prison, jail. What would you have to say to them as last words and everything? Words of encouragement.
Oh, for people wanting to join the profession, listen, don't do it if you don't have 100% faith that people can change. Let me say it one more time. If you don't have 100% faith that people can change, this is not the profession for you. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to revisit it.
I love that.
For the people who may be down a path of going into the system, it's very easy to get in, but it's super, super, super hard to get out. So if you do make that mistake, I need you to reach out to somebody and let them know, I need help. It's okay to ask for help. A lot of people have ego, even myself, but we all need help sometimes, and there are people out here for you.
Amen. I love that. Absolutely. Well, cool. It has been amazing, Brittany. Thank you so much for jumping on the episode and telling all the audience at After the Gate everything that you do. And for the future,
hey y'all, let me tell them this. Hold on. Follow me on Facebook at Your Favorite PO and on YouTube at Your Favorite PO.
Yep. For everybody that's listening and watching, in the video description below, I'll make sure to plug all that in for you, Brittany, and all that good stuff. So,
well, thank you.
Y'all know where to find her. So Your Favorite PO has some big things in store, and I look forward to everything that you're going to be doing. So
thank you for having me.